in this episode, I'm going to kill passive investing, index fund investing. I'm going to explain to you why I think it's a really bad idea to do right now. Let's dive in. Welcome to Money and Freedom, the podcast about becoming financially free and building wealth for generations using stock market investing. The first thing people say is, well, Beile, even Warren Buffett recommends index fund investing. He's going to give his money in Standard & Poor 500 to his children and his wife. Well, he is still doing traditional stock picking value investing. Let's look at why it's a really bad idea. And we can get back to Warren Buffett at the end. I have here 5 reasons why I think index investing is a really bad idea. First of all, the market as a whole could drop a lot, and it's really mature to do that. It's time for that. And I'll explain why. Sheila's PE ratio measures how expensive the whole market is. You can measure PE for one company, and it's simply the price, meaning the stock price, in relation to the earnings of the company. So how expensive is the stock of this company compared with how much they earn? When you do this for the market, you will see how expensive the market is. Now, a fair level for this ratio would be like 15, 16. And in 1929, it was around just over 30. Today, and the moment of speaking is beginning of July 25, 2025, it's way above 30. It's even above 38. So the market right now is more expensive than it was in 1929, when we know there was a stock market bubble for sure. In 1929, the market dropped 89%. That's almost 90% over 3 years. Could you imagine that, over 3 years, you see 1 million be reduced to 100,000 or 100,000 reduced to 10,000? That's painful. What people then say is the following. They say, well, the market goes up over time. Yeah, and I say, but how long? And if we look at 1929, it was 29 years before the market regained what it had lost. So if you had invested 100,000 at the peak of the bubble in 1929, you would have to wait almost 30 years for that money to become 100,000 again. Can you imagine? I don't know about you, but I'm not that sure I'm going to be alive in 29, 30 years. I hope I will. I've promised my kids I'm going to turn 100. So, but I don't want to wait 30 years. In the dot-com bubble, kind of the same happened. It took 13 years before the money was worth the same again, if you were broadly invested. So that was reason number 2, that it can take a long time before your money is worth the same again. The third point is that you overpay because there's no price control mechanism when you invest automatically in index funds. Let's compare it with shopping in a supermarket. The way that you buy index funds, if you compare it to shopping, would be that you go to the supermarket, you hand the basket to someone else and you say, please give me one of each. I don't care what it costs. Just give me one of each every month or every week. Give me one of each of everything on that aisle, or give me one of each of everything you have in the shop, or give me one of each of everything that has a green label. Because that's how these passive funds work. They have an automatic collection of stocks based, it could be geographical, it could be that it's 25, for example, OMX C25 in Denmark, or 25 specific companies. Or it could be Standard & Poor 500, which are 500 American companies. So there is no fund manager selecting. It is an automatic way. So let's imagine that everybody went to the supermarket and bought like that. Or a lot of people, just 80% of the customers in the supermarket shop like that things were just automatically put in the basket every month. Well, what happens is that, you will buy things, even though an apple all of a sudden is 100 kroner or dollars, doesn't matter. You're buying it anyway because you're not checking it. And then it can rise to an even higher price and you're still buying it. There's no price control mechanism. So that was point number 3. Point number 4 is you buy absolute crap because you're not checking what you're buying. Let's go back to the supermarket example. If you just say, give me one of everything. Well, you will get one of everything. You will get the things that, have a lot of sugar in it, or maybe it's not even real food. Maybe it never saw a sun ray in its life. You will get all that. And when it's a company, it could be a company that has a lot of debt. It could be a company with a really bad management. It could be a company with a really bad product. It could be a company that doesn't even really make money, that has a negative profit. So you get crap. You can also compare it with hiring. Let's say you have a firm, you need 100 employees, and you just say, pick everyone who applies, or we have 100 applicants, don't pick, or pick everyone with the letter B in their name, or whatever. You don't select for quality. So will you get the best employees at your firms? Of course not. The same way with investing. If you just select automatically, you will not get the best. Point number 5 is it's even an immoral way to invest. And what do I mean? Well, you will get things that are really not good for this world. Not just that it's crap, but it's not what you want, because that's not who you are. The way that we live today, we're so conscious about everything. We think about how we buy when, we don't want things with sugar. We don't want our children to be too much on the tablet. There's so many things. We're kind to people. We smile to people. We give money to good causes, the homeless and whatever. We do all these great things. The money that you invest are doing things in the world. It's like part of you out there doing stuff. So you might be investing in things that are really contrary to your beliefs. Like it could be you're investing in oil, you're investing in a weapon, you're investing in companies that employ child labor, you're investing in companies with a CEO that lies. You don't know. I mean, for sure, if you're investing in a big index, for sure you have companies that are investing in, that are producing weapons, oil, that are using child labor. For sure, because if you have something with 500 companies, it's there, for sure. So what should you do instead? And this is what this podcast is so much about. It's what should you do instead? Well, you should pick wonderful companies. And this word is a whole term. It's a term for a company that, there's a lot of things attached to that has a great product, that it's definitely making money. It has a good management. Debt is not too high. It has competitive advantages. You can also call it a moat that protects it. Something that keeps the customers to this company so they don't go to the competitors. You have to follow a checklist. And you can go to episode number 3 to hear me explain about the checklist. And you can download the checklist. I'll put a link below where you can download it. You have to take the company through this checklist so you're sure it's a wonderful company. And the whole idea with a wonderful company is, 1, you want a company that has an even better future in 10 years. And you want a company that is aligned with your values. And then the other thing that's very important is you want it for the right price. You don't want to overpay for this company. So you have to figure out, what is it really worth? You have to look inside the company. You have to open the annual report and figure it out. And I can teach you how to do that in my free ebook. I will link to that as well. So you find a wonderful company and you invest when the stock price is below what the company is worth. So you have a margin of safety there. That's what you should do. So the resources for you right here are, go back to podcast number 3, listen to what I say about the checklist, download the checklist, and download the ebook. You can actually download the ebook because the checklist will come a few days later automatically. So let's go back to Warren Buffett for a second. So yes, it is true that his wife, for example, will inherit index funds. But that doesn't mean that he recommends this way of investing over value investing. He is still at the age of 97 practicing value investing. He does not have his money in index funds. So value investing is still the way to go. It is still a better way of investing than index funds. If you really, really, really don't have the time or really don't have the capabilities to pick stocks in the right way, you could invest in index funds. But I would always recommend real value investing. That was it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like it and subscribe and recommend it to your friends and families. And of course, give it a good review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you. Please remember, what we share on Money and Freedom is for education and entertainment only. The opinions you hear from me or my guests are not investment advice. Always do your own research or speak to a professional before making any decisions.